Oh.
Whoa, it's us.
Hey. Lost in space and time on a mission they were never meant to return from.
They have returned.
They have returned.
The horrible secrets of space.
The horrible, horrible secrets of space. The horrible camera panning in and out, not sure what to focus on.
Oswego Comic Shop does a podcast.
We're back,
Orly.
baby. Oh.
With me, Aaron Z. Lee. I'm Lois Lane.
Oh, hello. My name is Evan
Evan Z.
Coy.
Coy.
And Evan Z. Coy, and I am Lex Luthor because we share the same haircut. And we're here today with a very special guest star
Martin Kinney.
and
You're not tricking me into saying my name, sir.
Mr. McPiddlix. And regular guest star,
Michael Callie. I'm as Superman today.
you
you're
are.
Please
Superboy.
don't call me Superboy.
Is it supposed to be Superboy? Did I put the
Superboy.
wrong thing?
That's
All right,
okay.
let me change that real quick.
Oh, with the jokes there, Evan.
Oh, wait. You want to be called Superboy?
No.
No.
I'm
The joke was we're labeling Superboy, so
I'm
he would say,
90s
I
I'm
don't want to be
90s
called
Superboy.
Superman because Superboy in the 90s did not want to be called Superboy. He wanted to be called Superman.
Superboy.
Oh, okay. It's a bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now I understand.
Yes, well executed
All right.
bit. Excellent,
What's his name?
excellent.
Connor-
Back to
Connor
being
Kent?
Superboy.
Connor Kent. I'm Connor Kent today.
I was familiar with the character of Superboy, but I never read any dialogue that he ever said. I just knew what he
He's
looked
got
like.
an attitude.
Oh, yeah. And he's got circular
I
sunglasses,
love his
baby.
sunglasses and his leather jacket.
I love how the screen's just getting darker and lighter and focusing on the action
was
in
a
the
good design.
background
It's
and
a
then
great design.
on us.
Well, it knows what's interesting. It's the background.
And you know
Yes.
what's funny about that Superboy design? You could bring that back today and it would be very hip.
It's actually on right now. They're doing a Superboy Man of Tomorrow miniseries
With that design?
Dawn of DC.
And the kids
Yeah.
dig it.
I really like it.
They're like righteous.
It's a good
You don't-
character design, though. I
You
like
don't have
it.
any kids coming in there like, we're like, yeah,
Yeah.
Superboy. Love that design.
Like, it is
Lo- the-
cool
his-
beans.
His
I'm
story
one of-
resonates with me.
One of 2 subscribers on that book.
One of 2 believers.
One of 2 believers. Shout out to our 2 believers at home.
If you've got 2, is that all you need?
That is all you need.
Okay. All right. We'll take it. Yeah, so we're going around a horn.
We can go around a horn.
Honk, honk.
What's
yeah,
Uh-huh.
what's going on with you?
With me? Oh, my
No,
God. You don't want to hear that from me.
I do.
Start with somebody else first.
I relettered 57 pages of my book.
No,
and
that's
it's
what we're-
gonna be the bestest ever, guys. You
That's
just wait when it comes out.
The conversation we had walking across the street to Stewart's right now.
I
is
got
that.
nothing. I got nothing new to say because I've just been literally drilling on that lettering.
Ayo.
I've got like 17 pages left, which seems like a lot, but I used to have over 100 pages, so it's actually a lot less than I used to have. And it's coming together. Like it's so close. I'm feeling the whole thing kind of combining together. I got some end pages. I pulled out a panel from one of them that I think is going to be a really cool end page when you open the book. It's all those little designery things that I'm so close to getting to do those little designery things that make it feel like a book.
Dubbing Aaron for that missing section of dialogue.
I was going to say, Aaron, you said you had nothing to talk about and to defer to somebody else. Who would you like to defer to? I'm just kidding. I'm just
Anybody.
kidding.
Anybody. Well, it's just that it's like anytime I talk to my wife about anything, and I'm like, oh, I got another page lettered. It's like to me, it's something different, but to you, it's like, oh, he's saying the same thing.
Well, it's all part of the charm that is the Comic Shop Does a podcast.
Tune in every week for the same
For the
conversation.
same conversation.
It's comfortable.
And me talking about how the equipment never works and how I swapped out your cable because I don't think it's the microphone that's giving us
Ayo.
issues for the past few weeks. I think it was the
Did
cable.
you swap it out or did you just
I
zip tie
did.
it?
So
Oh, okay.
I zip tied a new one on there. I have to figure out how to rethread
one,
it
check
through
one.
the. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think it's good.
I think it was the cable. Yeah,
I think it was the cable.
I
'Cause
blame Rob Liefeld.
I do too.
what,
Oh, boy.
what was that?
I hit the wrong button.
It was just a blank page with the question mark.
Yeah, I hit the wrong button. Never mind.
That was
Oh,
an
what are they
intriguing
playing
screen.
I'm not sure what this is.
Martin,
this
what's
G.I.
going
Joe?
on? Michael, what's going on with you?
So I have been working some longer days at the Dojang. We're doing a summer camp right now, so I've had less free time than normal. But in the free time I have had, I've been helping Aaron with his other podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
We've been getting ready for Halloween a little bit early, doing some fun things that are in the woodworks with Creep Show. I'm not going to spill too much on that, but
Oh, spill the
stay tuned
beans. I'm interested in that. Can you spill beans?
Yeah, go
Well,
for it.
there's not like a ton to say right now, but we've been meeting here on Mondays. I think we're meeting on Sunday this
Yeah,
week, so
if
we
you're-
can have
if you're cool with that.
another guest as well. We're just going story by story through the 80s Creep Show and pairing that up with an issue of the new Creep Show series. It works out great because there are 5 stories in the original Creep Show, 5 issues of the new book. So we just bang out a quick issue or a quick podcast every week on that.
So you
and
bang
when
out a
we're all ready-
quickie, okay?
Yeah, every Monday or Sunday after after the shop closes.
You're gonna have competition actually on Sunday, I think.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is it-
well, I'm
is
good.
something going
My
on?
ask me what I'm doing.
What are you doing?
Not shampooing a carpet on Sunday.
I think I'm gonna try to shampoo the carpet here.
Okay.
This is the You've heard it here for breaking news. Breaking
Comic
news.
shop gets a carpet shampoo.
I think I'm gonna try
Ayo.
to shampoo the carpet here.
And
on
we
Sunday.
dare anyone to notice the difference when we're done.
Should we just record with the vacuum going like?
That could be a whole podcast
That would be
episode of
kinda
Evan
funny.
shampooing the floor of the comic
Just,
shop.
just set up.
It'd
a
be one of the
camera in
better
corner.
ones.
Set up a camera in the corner, and you're just
Be kind of
cleaning.
like some
Live
ambiance.
stream.
With a Tijuana brass playing in the background.
yeah, it could work.
Keep going, Martin.
I don't
But
know. No, I don't want to get a strike against us.
That's a good point.
okay, yeah. But this podcast will be going out every week. I think when we get in October, if we
Yeah.
have enough time to do some more, it would be cool to do
Yeah,
some more
absolutely.
regular ones. But for right now, we'll just try to get through 4, and then if there's still more time and more will for people to want to take a look at some other horror stuff, we do that too. Yeah, and it's been fun to set up and kind of do a bootleg podcast right in the back next to all this equipment, but with another table.
I
and
get to
just-
go home early an hour on
just an
Mondays.
iPad
I love it.
on a little table I have.
I wasn't sure what you were doing because I saw that you brought other stuff in, but I'm like, well, he's not recording at the podcast desk though. Like, what's he doing?
He's
It
directing porn back here behind your back. It's what's happening.
took- well, gently caress. As long as it's
It's
class-
tasteful.
It's tasteful. Thank
porn,
you.
yes.
That's the word I was looking for. God,
Dios mío.
Martin, do you have anything?
No, just the shampoo and the carpet thing.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I'm going to shampoo the carpet. This is
Heck yeah, get it.
what a podcast. Where
I feel
that's
like
a
that's the
whole
charm.
3-minute segment
It's a super podcast.
about shampooing the comic shop carpet, which is it's like trying to polish a turd. Like there's no possible way all that time and energy will pay off. But
Clearly, you've never seen me polish a turd.
well, you're welcome.
Make it real
You're welcome to
shiny.
clean the carpets with me.
I like that you disparage my hobby.
Yeah.
Wunderbar.
Gesundheit. We are talking Superman today, right?
Yeah,
We are.
the superb man.
Everyone's favorite superhero.
He is a weird one in that, like, he's. Oh, I should have got that on. There we go. A classic American superhero. But the
the superhero.
the superhero.
Granddaddy of all superheroes.
But I think kind of lacks a little bit in terms of the modern age. But a fascinating story of how it came about.
Is it, or are people just lazy?
What do you mean?
Is it really that hard of a character to do something with? Or are people just too lazy to try and do something with it?
Sometimes the fear of failure outweighs the chance of success. Much to your point, Superman is a great character. You just have to know how to use him, and it's hard to take a risk on something like that. But think of it this way: there are tons of comics that we put out on the wall every week that none of you pick up. So what's one more Superman book you're not going to read going to make a difference if we really like it?
And Batman's easy.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just
Is
put him in this suit and you punch people.
Well, couldn't you
Batman
do-
is, to me, Batman is an easier character to write.
Oh, definitely.
Right?
yeah.
He's got it's a lot easier to use his rogues gallery for things. He's got a lot of backup characters that support him better. Not that Superman doesn't have a great family and great villains also. It's just it's harder to utilize a hero that's a little bit more on the pure side. The big blue boy scout,
Yeah.
Batman can push limits and break rules. Superman has a code that he has to stay by.
Interestingly, I didn't know this until today because I did 5 minutes worth of research on Superman.
Oh yeah.
Early Superman comics, he would kind of terrorize the bad guys and occasionally kill the bad guys. And it wasn't until they had a new editor in like 1940 or something like that where a code of conduct was put in place for the heroes,
Not a comics code.
which is not to be confused with the comics code from 1954. But they had an in-house DC code that they decided that their heroes shouldn't kill. And as such, Superman became more of that wholesome,
Yeah.
blue Boy Scout, like you said, which I didn't realize that. I didn't know.
Which in the radio serial he was a little bit more gruff, and the first season of the TV show was the same producer as the radio show, and he was replaced by someone else the second season who toned it back down. So while it was still for a general audience, it was friendlier to kids without the added violence, I guess.
So this kind of like polished, clean cut Superman is just the development of the character going through
Yes.
different iterations
Yep.
for the general public. So the watered downness of Superman
The perceived water, yeah.
is self inflicted.
Interesting in terms of his character development too, that it started out as a beautiful bald man who was like homeless and given like some
Oh,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
drugs that gave him like telekinetic powers. And
Oh,
that
what?
was the first
Yeah.
iteration of Superman.
That sounds awesome.
And then later on, it was said that all of these failed. And Martin, maybe you have a list of things or whatever. We can look it up.
I got some stuff.
But all the different failed pitches for this character, and it was told that the character wasn't not extreme enough.
Then we gave him the mullet.
But
and
we
it
need
was
he needed
just
it
right.
needed more. So it came from all
it
these
wasn't
men-
action enough, I think. Is kind
So
of
they
what it
switched
was.
from the mental powers to the physical powers for one of the later iterations of
Mm-hmm.
Superman, where all of a sudden he's flying and he's super strong and he's invulnerable. And those, I think, were the traits that the comic publisher was looking for more than the the bald mentalist,
The
homeless
bald
man.
mentalist.
Yes.
Homeless man.
Martin, what do you got?
Well, the first supervillain that he actually dealt with in the comics was Ultra Humanite in issue 13 of, I think it was Action, and was basically all those traits of the original Superman.
Yeah, it seemed like not the bad version of Superman, but the powers were again more mental based, and the character design seems to refer to one of those earlier iterations of Superman. Interesting too, the number of pitches that took place for this, that they were trying to do a comic strip originally with Superman that was going to be centered in Cleveland because they were both from Ohio.
yeah.
Siegel
And also Cleveland Rocks. So
Cleveland Rocks.
I've been there.
It's a good place. So it was going to be set in Cleveland. They were pitching it as a newspaper strip, continually rejected as a newspaper strip. They finally start to work out a deal with a publisher who they've done some work with in the past, but haven't been, as the age-old story of the artist goes, weren't getting paid regularly or on time for previous work, but it was the only person who was publishing Siegel and Schuster's work. And what I guess what happened, and again, this is a terrible telling of this story, but two other people got involved with this initial publisher and founded what became Detective Comics Inc. And the two people that came into the picture kicked out this original guy because of bad business practices and not paying people. And then these two other people came back to Siegel and Schuster and said, "Hey, like we're doing this comic or they did Detective Comics. No, they didn't do Detective Comics first. It was Detective Comics Inc. They were doing Action Comics, and they were looking for shorts to put in this collection. And they didn't want to give them Superman because they were still trying to work out a comic strip pitch. And some publisher has, had their comic strip stuff tied up. And eventually it fell through at the last minute, and they took 13 of those strips and sent them to Detective Comics Inc., and they were asked to work those into Action Comics #1. Yes.
Now, with Superman, like virtually every aspect of his evolution through media is got a lot of weird lawsuits or conflicts that come up. So, Evan, tell the story about who almost became the artist on Superman.
I don't remember that story.
You don't remember what happened where
No, I'm serious.
two guys are too young to...
So, yes. So, it's determined at one point in time that Siegel and Schuster believe that they're too young, and so Siegel
to be treated
to be treated as a legit cartoonist. So Siegel kicks Schuster off of the project and tries to recruit other more established artists who are doing strips to push Superman, and this kind of leads to a fallout between the two.
in which the comic gets burned.
Yes, of which the initial images,
wow.
the initial Superman comic is burned except for the cover. So there's like no original art for these first pitches of Superman comics because of their falling out, and they decided to just scrap the whole thing, which I thought was very interesting as well. Oh boy.
Yeah, and the reason they're going for a comic strip first is because people who did comic strips were paid much better.
Yep.
And they were respected much better. And I think they might have even retained the rights.
No.
No.
Nope.
The Syndicate got the rights.
So, for Syndicate, I'm not sure, but when they went to Detective Comics Inc., they sold that initial, what was a revision of those 13 strips to Detective Comics Inc. for $130.
Ugh.
And then they did the nice thing of just giving them the rights to the character as well. They were not paid for the rights to
Oh, they just gave it.
They gave it. That was
Mm-hmm.
industry standard at the time, is you just give them the rights to your characters.
Which is why there's so much legal back and forth over
Yeah, the legal stuff's crazy.
it's. Yeah, I'm sure it's made many law firms quite a bit of money over the years.
Yeah. Well, they go back and like any other industry with like publishing, like book publishing, if they saw that, they'd be like, that's not how this
Yep.
works.
I would say that later on they did get compensated in some way.
Even that gets convoluted.
It gets very convoluted. I'm trying to figure out where my notes are on that.
It's one of those things where it's the balancing act between company greed and family greed. Where it's like you got to kind of find like this is kind of weird in the middle.
I believe
Yeah.
so at some point in time they were paid for their rights. This is like maybe 1948 or something like that. They're paid roughly like $400,000 for
In 1940s money?
yeah. So roughly it was like $7 million maybe for the. But then the rights reverted to. There was no. You couldn't argue over who owned the characters anymore. The rights were DC's. We paid you this $400,000, roughly $7 million in current money. And then it was, yes, you. There was no disputing the fact that DC Inc. or DC Comics owned this character,
And there
But-
you have it. And it was never disputed ever
and it was
again.
never ever disputed ever again. And I can't find any of my notes in regards to lawsuits at all. Copyright issues. Here we go. Yeah, so in contract dated March 1st, 1938, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster gave away the copyright to Superman to their employer, then known as Detective Comics Inc. They were paid $130 for the Superman story, not the copyrights to the character. They gave that away for free. This was the normal practice in the comic magazine industry. Again, in 1947, DC Comics paid them at least $401,000, equivalent to a little over $7 million in 2022. Siegel wrote most of the magazine and daily newspaper stories until he was conscripted in the Army in 1943. As soon as they sent him to the Army, DC published a story featuring the childlike version of Superman called Superboy, which was based on a script that Siegel had submitted, but Siegel did not give them approval to use the story, and basically DC then claimed that they owned the Superboy character as well.
Oh, okay, that's what led to the legal problem in like 2006 or whatever.
So this would be a good time to bring up also that the Superboy of this time period was just a younger version of Superman, not a Superboy like the Connor Kent that we had in the 90s
Yeah.
or the
Okay.
Jonathan Kent that we have today. So that makes this even a little bit more convoluted because it's just a younger version of the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not a derivative character.
Yeah, it's not like they came up with anything earth-shatteringly new.
This is like Spawn and Medieval Spawn.
Yeah.
What about Spawn and Sewer Spawn?
Sewer
No.
Spawn.
What about Spawn Boy?
Spawn Boy. Why has that not happened yet?
Todd, get in touch. Here's a
Give it
pitch for
time.
Spawn Boy.
Give it time.
In 1965, Siegel and Schuster attempted to regain the rights to Superman using the renewal option of the Copyright of 1909 Act, which I have no idea what that is, but that also comes up into play later on.
Welcome to Legal Talk, and the Comic Shop does a podcast.
Hi, I'm your lawyer, Evan Coy. Schuster transferred the renewal rights to DC Comics in 1938. They appealed, but the courts held up the appeal by DC Comics, so they filed another lawsuit. And then in 1975, Siegel and other comic book writers and artists launched a public campaign for better treatment of characters, or creators, rather. Comic creators. The characters they didn't give a poop about.
We want boring stories of them drinking martinis and chilling by the pool.
They gave Warner Brothers agreed to give them a yearly stipend, full medical benefits, and their name in the credits of all future Superman productions in exchange for never contesting ownership of Superman again. So they never contested ownership of Superman again, which
Nope,
is a
end of
lie.
story.
Which is a lie. Yes.
It's interesting the timing on that one. 65, you said,
Yeah.
Because-
65.
because there was a successful stage show. It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman that came out in '66.
Do you think that might have been related?
That might have been because
It's not actually a bad stage presentation. I actually listened to the whole thing.
It got nominated for a Tony.
reasonably, yeah, it's reasonably good.
Bob Holliday was the actor who portrayed Superman. But yeah, that was DC was making some money off Superman in a unique way, and they wanted their cut.
Schuster dies in 1992. DC Comics offers their heirs a stipend, the stipend Schuster was getting, in exchange for never challenging ownership of Superman.
Which, why would they have to renegotiate that? That seems kind of weird to me.
I don't know. Siegel dies in 1996. His heirs attempted to take the rights of Superman using the Termination Provision Act of 1976. Welcome back to Legal Talk. DC Comics negotiated an agreement where they would pay Siegel heirs several $1 million in a yearly stipend of $500,000 in exchange for permanently granting DC rights to Superman. I love how like every 20 years they have to renegotiate the. Oh, we should.
You're a legal correspondent over there.
So DC Comics also agrees to put, by special arrangement with the Jerry Siegel family, in all future Superman productions. This goes on for another 5 or 6 years before it's agreed upon. Copyright lawyer and movie producer Mark Toblerone. Oh, Mark Toblerone. Then struck a deal with the heirs to both Siegel and Schuster to help them gain the rights to Superman in exchange for signing the rights over to his production company, Pacific Pictures.
Slimy.
Yep. Both groups agreed. Siegel heirs called off their deal with DC and in 2004 sued for the rights to Superman and Superboy. And in 2008, the judge ruled in favor of the Siegels. DC Comics appealed the decision. Of course, then they went back to DC. A whole bunch of this back and forth, appeal, money. And it just continues to go on and on. So under current copyright law, Superman is due to enter the public domain January 1st, 2034. However, it only appealed to the character depicted in Action Comics #1, and the character has evolved a lot since then. Lois Lane would also fall into that, but Jimmy Olsen, Supergirl, things like that wouldn't fall into public domain until later on.
Oh, they're
So,
in public
yeah.
domain?
No.
No.
11 more years.
11 more years there.
Oh, wow.
Well, until
Just
Warner Brothers and
Superman.
Disney has the
Yeah.
laws shifted one more time.
Yep. So this is interesting, too, that there's a Captain Marvel connection to this because Superman was wildly successful. So
Oh, I know about this one.
Fawcett Comics starts doing Captain Marvel, which is basically Superman.
The big blue Boy Scout versus the big red cheese.
So this goes back. There's also a
He's Magic
Copyright Act
Superman.
of 1909 thing that takes place here that Fawcett, I believe, figured out that they maybe didn't trademark Superman properly early on or didn't maintain that copyright or some weird thing. But that was their argument that DC didn't copyright Superman. So even though this is a derivative of Superman, you don't have a copyright claim to that character anyway. And it was ruled that Fawcett could do this character. And then DC appealed the decision. And the next judge said, because DC screwed up, it was still they still intended to copyright this character, and what they were doing was ill-intended or something like that. So then they were able to stop Captain Marvel from being published.
Yeah, despite the fact that DC didn't do what they were supposed to, their intent would have been to do it, and so they're claiming that Fawcett was being sort of malicious and coming after this.
So eventually, Fawcett settles out of court with DC, and they pay another $400,000. Which I love this because the first $400,000. Oh, I guess this is later. No, it's not. It's like the same time frame. The first $400,000 thing says equivalent to $7 million in 2002, and this says $4,000 equivalent to $4.5 million in 2002. So I'm not sure.
Jeez.
I'm not sure how that's going there. But just an interesting thing. And then DC licensed Captain Marvel in 1972 and changes the character's name to Shazam eventually. So that's the history of that. Woo!
Yeah, we're not even going
Oh,
to get into
man.
Marvel Man and all that
Yeah.
nonsense.
That's
That's
another podcast.
I'm exhausted.
Oh, that's right. We do have a gift here. That's in honor of Martin Evans' anniversary. Should we get that out here and open it up?
Oh, I didn't realize the context of this present.
I
was.
didn't either.
You didn't allude to that earlier.
Well, it's a
All
surprise.
right, get on his lap, Evan.
All right, here I come. No. We'll just open it up here.
Get on his lap. Come on.
So this is
we've been talking about legal stuff. Let's get some spicy action going.
well only if Michael gets on your lap.
His
This
his
been
girlfriend
the
is here. It's not
comic shop.
appropriate.
This
It's
is
not
when the comic shop
appropriate.
gets canceled.
Toss salad and scrambled eggs.
Going again.
Are they calling again?
They are.
So this is
Good night, Seattle.
There it goes.
what's our anniversary? I don't even know what our anniversary is. The day I followed.
The day you followed me across the street.
The day I
Like,
followed.
golly, you like comics, don't you, sir? I like comics too.
Hey, green-haired man with the Deadpool lanyard. I like comics too. All right, let's open this thing. This is from Mr.
The Deadpool
Lee.
lanyard is dead.
What's your current lanyard?
It's Blockbuster.
But he has another.
wow.
Deadpool
But
lanyard.
Michael found me the exact Deadpool one, so I got that in the backup for when the very cheaply made Blockbuster one.
Oh, look at that.
Is it from our sponsor?
Hobby Lobby.
Ooh, this is up backwards and upside down. Look at that.
I can't.
An on-air light box.
Oh,
Wow. Look
wow.
at that, Martin. Isn't that nice?
That is cool.
That's
we can
very
use
nice.
that when Phil drops by next.
It is from Hobby Lobby.
Yeah. I saw it at Hobby Lobby and I was like, you know what? I'm getting that.
Not sponsored, not endorsed.
Oh boy, look at
Our
that.
number one sponsor, Hobby Lobby.
No, our number one sponsor is.
Wow.
I can't remember the name Evan made up for the sponsor. So
Oh
it's
no, I'm not saying that.
In the chat, Evan remembers what you wore that day you met. Adorable.
Yeah, I was just wearing a lanyard. It was just a lanyard, and
It was a large man, naked man with a lanyard.
green
And,
hair
yeah,
everywhere.
well, no, he had green hair. He had green hair and a Deadpool lanyard. So I'm like, this dude has to work at the comic shop.
I miss that
comic
green
stop.
hair.
Oh,
The
the
comic
comic
stop.
stop. Is that a? Like
Well,
a
it was
GameStop
that color.
You're
reference?
ruining my story. So
Okay,
anyway, I just started talking to him, and I'm like, I literally followed Martin back across the street, and my joke is they never left, and here we are.
Well, I'm just glad that wasn't a box of kryptonite.
Could've
Not
been.
not invented for the comic.
It should have been.
It
Could've been.
debuted in the radio show along with Jimmy Olsen, Perry White, and I think that was it for the.
How
radio
many
show.
characters didn't originate in the Superman comic and originated in all sorts of other
Other media-
platforms? That's wild too.
Yeah,
A lot, probably.
Livewire, we know that.
Livewire, we
Livewire.
were watching that today.
Yeah, the radio show was a live production. It ran from 1940 to 1951, 2,088 episodes.
Live.
Yeah, Bud Collyer was the was the actor who played Superman, and since it was live, in order to give him some time off, kryptonite was one of the things they invented, so that he could be off, take a day off, and have some other actor just I'm dying from kryptonite without actually saying it.
Wait, so how often did they run this show?
It was daily.
Wow,
It was 5 days a week, I believe.
wow.
That's cool.
And yeah, he's also the voice of the Superman Clark Kent
Yes.
in the animated shorts from the Fleischer Studios.
Look at that beautiful Superman behind you.
Yeah, that's some great animation. Those old Fleischer Superman
So-
cartoons.
The first one of the animated shorts, which was like 8 or 9 minutes long, cost them $50,000.
Which is $7
Made-
million in today's money.
It
$8
is.
million.
And the subsequent episodes were 30,000 apiece. Equivalent shorts of that style, their budgets were between $900 and $1,500.
So they're spending money.
$15,000.
They're
Yeah.
dropping some cash.
So it was
And you can see it.
exorbitantly.
They're beautiful though.
It is.
Those we were watching some of the new cartoon today as well, and the new cartoon is fine and the animation's nice, but man, these are pretty.
This is art.
These
yeah.
are pretty.
Joe Schuster provided the model sheets for this as well.
Wow.
So
I mean, yeah, those Fleischer cartoons are held up for a reason. I mean, there's some content that's objectionable today, but the craft of it is
Well, yeah,
unassailable.
a couple of these. There are some questionable character choices that are made, which were just
Mhm.
products of the time.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Gross.
Yeah, but fighting robots, that's pretty good, and that's the inspiration, I believe, for the connection between that and Iron Giant.
Oh, okay.
Other than the Pete Townsend from The Who, it being a musical for him in the beginning. There's a convoluted history to Iron Giant as well.
Cool.
They also produced a series of live-action serials. The first of which was the most profitable serial in the history of cinema.
General Mills.
Cheerios.
Cheerios. The flying footage that they used for the serials was. Sorry, you guys got me with your joke. It's just so funny.
It is.
Thank you.
Was animated over live-action sequences, so it they didn't try.
So
to
they took
make
a video of a real man flying, and then they
yeah, they did. They
animated
did.
that.
Yeah. So yeah, they didn't try to make you believe a man could fly.
He was just in an airplane, and they just
No, it was just
they,
animated.
they rotoscoped it.
There was
It's actually-
a
they just
live
said
action
sitting and flying.
background, and they painted over it. There was no man flying at all.
Oh, it's disappointing.
Yeah, no, not until 1978 or whatever that happened.
78.
Then George Reeves first portrays Superman in a feature that was in 1951. That was a promotion for the upcoming live-action TV series.
Man, these things happen so fast sometimes.
Does
Like,
anyone
go ahead.
does anyone know what happened to George Reeves?
I think he's still
Yeah.
around.
Like that's
there's-
yeah, it's still
yeah.
such a bizarre story.
Yeah, no,
Nobody
no,
knows
it's-
how he
he died.
died. He just got shot. That's that's
Mm-hmm.
the end of it. They don't know if he shot himself. They don't know if there was a hitman in the room. They don't
They don't
know
know if
it
Courtney
his
Love was
ex-wife.
involved.
Oh, you beat me to the joke. I'm so mad. That was on the tip of my tongue, and I was waiting for the pause to be like, some say it's Courtney Love, but it's a very good, Martin. We're on the same page. That's very important.
That joke was in
Cecilia,
bad
later
taste.
later I have to tell you something about Courtney Love. Don't let me forget.
Oh,
It's good. It's
boy.
good stuff.
That's all. I just wanted to touch on the mystery that was George Reeves' death.
George
because
Reeves, who hated being Superman,
he hated it.
which I
Hated
think
it,
is
hated
great that they've put him in the new Flash movie.
Hey, spoilers.
I mean, they
No
may
one's
have-
gonna see it.
I'm
It's
never gonna
fine.
see it.
No one's gonna see it.
They may have put them in the new Flash movie,
allegedly.
allegedly.
Yeah.
And why did he hate it? It's just he didn't want to be.
It was so immensely
typecast.
popular, I think, in that you can't escape it. It was like I don't think I wrote it
phenomenon.
down. In Japan, it was so popular that 75% of homes watched the show,
That's wild.
which is just crazy, unheard of. But yeah, it was basically the same thing there between the radio because it went right from the radio show into the TV series, so there was no.
But from like
stop.
1938, the comic it takes a million years to get anybody to buy this property.
Yeah.
In 1938,
2 years later.
April or June of it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I think it might be an April cover date and a June
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
2
but within
years, it's a
within
radio
2
show.
years, it's a radio show.
And then which
When is it-
spins
it-
into a TV show which runs to how do I have it here? To 1958.
Yeah.
So basically, yeah, it was
So you have
18
years of storytelling with
nonstop.
Superman between the radio and the TV show. And then
yeah,
it-
and then 1966 is is when he gets the New Adventures animated TV show.
which is only an 8-year
Yeah,
gap.
which I think is the longest gap of him not having some kind of.
When's the
media
Batman
actively.
TV show?
Batman
40 something, right?
No,
No.
That's when the serial starts.
the serials were in the same time period.
66 for Batman.
I'm going to say
I was
66
thinking 66,
because that was
yeah.
what the comic book was.
Yeah.
Yeah, 66. So, I was just thinking if did Batman fill in that gap when Superman wasn't there, but I guess not. Maybe there wasn't anything going on.
Yeah, he wasn't doing anything.
Yeah, it was basically that Super Friends,
When was Super Friends?
74 to 86.
It went much later than I thought.
Yeah, it was because they kept reinventing it. So it
Yeah.
was, because in the end it was like Challenge of the Super Friends, and they take on Darkseid and all that stuff.
And the Wonder Twins and the dog.
Those are before the dog was even before that. It was the first iteration was with the dog. The first couple years.
And then they had Aquaman with the hook hand. And and they had Electric Superman.
No, I don't think
It was,
so.
it was all in the Super Friends.
No, I
man.
don't think it was.
And Speedy was in there with the, well, you know.
Then the Salkheims make Superman in 1978.
The what?
The
Salt-
Salkheims. That's the slimy producers
Oh,
who
okay.
were
Oh,
mean
I
to
thought the
Richard Donner.
Salt Crimes.
That's what I thought. The salt mines. I was
It's
like,
Salt
oh, boy.
Mines, yeah.
Makes sense.
So it's Christopher Reed.
Reeves curse.
Some fun things from that. It's considered to be the first big budget superhero film. Once again, leading the way for Batman and everybody else to get their time in the sun. It's attributed to the taking the S crest that is the Superman symbol and making it an icon from Krypton instead of just a S for Superman. We also get the Fortress of Solitude being grown from a crystal from Krypton before it was just something he built himself.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, okay. We were talking Fortress of Solitude earlier.
Yeah,
That's what I thought. It was something that he built,
up until 1978,
and then it was kind
Then
of retconned that it was a
anything associated with the movie was like just retconned in like the appearance of Krypton itself being more crystalline than retro sci-fi things like that.
Yeah, it's interesting for Superman's arguably the most iconic American superhero. I don't know a ton of Superman. It was such a big thing as a kid, Death of Superman, and like everybody read that. Like it was something that even transcended like grade school to where it's like it was on the front page of like
Yeah,
the
it
New
was
York
everywhere. Yep,
Times and things like that, where everybody was just very much vested in that character at that time.
Well, because I thought it was going to pay for their college or something like that.
Yeah.
Not with 23 million copies of it made.
That's a weird thing too. It claims one of these articles claims that 23 million copies of that comic sold. That's clearly incorrect. Yes.
6,000 is what, or 6 million is what I was able to come up with.
Don't answer me, Aaron, if you think that that's true.
Well, X-Men is still the highest. X-Men number one,
Which
still
is
the
what,
highest
8
selling.
million?
8 million.
Was 8 million.
Yeah,
so I don't
there's
understand
no
how this.
way
It
that
said
you can
23 million. I'm like, there's.
I don't
no-
even think if you count second, third, fourth
Yeah.
printings,
And the 30th
anniversaries
anniversary,
and stuff like
everything
that. I
else.
don't think you could come up with that number. It
'Cause, yeah,
just
you
doesn't
can't-
seem feasible.
That's 3 times higher than X-Men number 1. That doesn't make any sense. You could argue like 6 million makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be that because X-Men had Chris Claremont and Jim Lee at the top of their game, and this had nothing against Dan Jurgens, but it's,
Yeah.
it's
How do
just
you
not as
pronounce his
exciting.
name?
Isn't it
Jurgens.
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 Okay. Normally, you know all the pronunciations. That's why I was like, "Oh, am I saying this?"
Well,
wrong?
Does he, or is he just bullying you into thinking?
No, because he
does?
watches way more kayfabe stuff than I do, and they pronounce the names correctly.
Everybody take a drink.
Take a drink. I brought it up.
Evan
I
did
brought
this
it up.
time. I didn't even bring it up this time.
You know, we have to get Mrs. Lee to come up with the official rules for the
Cartoonist kayfabe
for the
game.
for the comic shop does a podcast drinking game.
Well, I bet Sean Phillips has done some Superman artwork. But you know who
Well,
else?
so,
Oh, yeah, keep going. Go.
Just the Dan Jurgens thing. Yeah, I feel like very iconic associated with that, but he wasn't the biggest, flashiest dude at the time.
No.
I think
No.
all the flashy dudes were at Marvel, and they had just left
Yeah,
for.
we clearly established that DC had nobody in the early '90s. Like no hot superstar, nobody you can think of who.
Well, I mean, they had.
Well,
Well, this was after this. Well, after they killed Superman, they did bring over Kelly Jones and Kyle Hotz and
But
Sam
Kelly,
Keith to do some stuff with Batman.
and those are all great artists in their own right. I'm certainly not saying gently caress them, but it wasn't the art of Marvel. It wasn't the art of Image. I do
Yeah.
feel like the DC house style
It was
Just
very
what-
stiff.
was a product of the 80s still at that point in time.
Yeah.
And it's again, Jurgens is good. I think he's a very competent, capable artist, but
And a good writer too.
I just don't see that book selling more than X-Men
Yeah.
by threefold.
No.
Nah,
No,
way.
no. There's no way it had the hype, even with killing off like the icon.
No,
the
I think
iconic
it had the
superhero.
hype. I mean, again, it was front page of, the New York Times, I want to say.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I'm just making things
Well, but it had less hype than the X-Men relaunch, I think.
No.
Publicity wise,
No.
no,
In the comic book world,
maybe but
X-Men was a bigger thing.
Mm-hmm.
In the
real
larger
yeah,
world,
mainstream.
Death of Superman was enormous.
Ever was like
that was a
it was the
huge-
cover of Time magazine. It was
Yeah.
the front page. It was
X-Men #1 was not the front page of Time magazine.
I think what I was getting at is, the people who knew comics were more excited about an X-Men one than.
You can just say you were wrong.
but
No, I was right.
and that Superman thing sparked the we've got to replace all our DC characters tragically with someone new.
Yeah, I mean that led to Bane Bane.
Azrael
Yep.
and the
Breaking
four
of the Bat.
Superman.
Bye bye
Superman.
Oliver Queen.
the reign of the
bye
Superman.
bye.
Steel. I like
Bye
Steel.
bye Hal Jordan.
I like
I
Steel.
like Steel. I like Cyborg Superman. I love Connor Kent. We talked about that earlier.
I don't.
Those are
underst-
great. Those are pretty great
Kryp-
characters that they
Kryptonian
came out
Superman
of
at least looks cool. He's
The
got those
Eradicator?
sunglasses.
that. Yeah, Eradicator.
They were
And,
all.
wasn't
I
there a
like.
Cyborg Superman
Yep.
too?
Yeah, Hank Henshaw.
Yep.
What was his name?
Hank Henshaw.
Very good.
Thank you.
I'm just for cyborgs anyway
Yeah, they're always fun.
because I grew up in the 80s and 90s.
What was everybody's first Superman comic type exposure?
I had some of the stuff from the 80s. I think either late 80s, early 90s, just old Superman comics, and they were very confusing because the whole issue featured Superman, and he was slowly losing pieces of his body because he was actually a robot, and I was like, what? And then at the end, he dies saving somebody, and then the real Superman comes back, and he's like, "Good job holding down the fort while I was gone."
Oh, okay. It was one of the
It was one of
what do they
those.
call those
I know.
from the Fortress of Solitude.
Life model
The-
decoys.
Yeah, I know
That's what
you're
it is.
talking-
Life model decoys. Exactly.
Yeah.
No fact check.
Just conflate
Yeah,
the two
that
things.
works.
But it was so confusing as the first.
Right. You're
Comic.
first introduced to this character. Mine was Superman meets the Quick Bunny.
Oh wow!
It was a promotional thing, which and I think was for the very longest time the only Superman comic I ever read. That was early '80s. probably 84, maybe 85.
Bunny.
And other than that, it was like cartoons and things would be what I would associate with
Did he
Superman.
fight the Quick Bunny?
No, I wish he had, but they teamed up to fight. So I honestly don't. It's lost to the years now.
The Quick Bunny was a real son of a bitch back in the early days.
He knew what he could throw down.
Um,
What about you, Evan?
my first Superman exposure probably was not a comic. It was probably the George Reeves TV show. I feel like watching
Really?
those as a kid at my grandfather's house, maybe. I
Were
feel
they
like
on
we.
TV.
I don't know. I just have a lot of
Wow, that's
weird,
actually really, really surprising.
weird memories of like 50s and 60s TV at their place, and I don't. He was big into video,
Mhm.
so I don't know if like
VHS or beta.
VHS. So I don't know if these were things that like were we renting VHS things of Superman and watching them potentially when I was like 7 years old, just because.
I bet that's it because you go to the video store and you have the kid just pick out stuff.
Something. Yeah.
And it's maybe something that they were familiar with that like, and it's a very indistinct memory. But I remember like we would rent maybe rent, but like King Kong and Godzilla movies.
Mhm.
But then
anything black and white.
yeah,
Okay.
that like I remember watching some of those Superman things because I remember like I can't remember episodes,
Yeah.
but I remember like bits and pieces of it and sitting there with my grandfather.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of that until way after.
It's got to be video rental because that's how I
It has
watched
to.
the Captain America 1990 movie and
That's
Voltron
bad.
and all this stuff. I just picked out stuff that I recognized what it was.
We should do Captain America sometime.
And then
We should.
I would say comic wise, it was probably Death of
That's
Superman.
I think that's probably
That,
the
like,
next time
my-
I bought a Superman comic. Yeah.
My buddy Jason, I've talked about him before. That his brother Jarrett was like all of our older brothers. Like when he
Oh, yeah,
turned
yeah, yeah.
18, he would take us all out to the R movies and things like that. And they were the Shugs were much more into DC than I was. Also, there was a comic store that opened up by me right when Death of Superman started. I don't remember the name.
The Dugout. No, I don't know.
The Dugout's in Fairport. It's a great comic and card store.
You should shop there. Check out, see if they
they
have an
still there?
online presence.
I don't think there's there anymore.
Probably not.
But I remember I would walk to this comic store. It was the first comic store I could walk to. And it was right around Death of Superman. I remember getting like Inquest, or not Inquest.
Out of Quest.
What was the Wizard rival? Was it Inquest?
Scry.
No.
Comic
Heroes
art?
Illustrated.
Heroes
Oh, a wizard.
Illustrated.
I thought you were talking like
No,
right,
because
yeah.
I said a gaming thing.
You got
correct.
me. Yeah, you got me on the cards.
But I remember that like being Death of Superman was like a really big thing for the store, and that I could walk there and get those comics because I would have to like have my mom drive me to the mall or whatever to get books.
Eastview Mall?
Irondequoit and Eastview, FYE and Eastview. I forget the name of the comic store. There used to be two comic book stores in. There used to be two in Eastview, 2 or 3 in Eastview. Holy
Wow.
cow! There
Well,
used to be
you're
like 3
spoiled out
comic book
there.
stores in a mall.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild. But walked to this one comic store right around Death of Superman. The comic store probably only lasted like a year. I never became friends with anybody that was there. I never really talked. You're 11, 12
This
years
is
old
all
kid.
like here.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Who are you guys again?
but Death of
Aaron. His name is Aaron.
Yeah. But that was so important, Death of Superman, that everybody was on board for at least 4 to 6 months, maybe, with all the introduction to all those new characters and things like that. Just a great time in comics.
And you, Callie?
So the very first Superman media I saw one way or another was the 40s, 50s animated show. My parents found it at the dollar store on DVD and
DVD,
brought it home for me.
Yeah.
Because it was public domain. It still is. The first Superman comic I ever bought and read was an issue of Adventures of Superman. I can't remember the exact number, but it was a Bizarro's World issue, and I can remember the cover because I bought it specifically because there was a copy of it hanging on the wall here. And
Was it like the black cover? With
yeah,
it?
the
Yep.
Bizarro's World.
I know what you're
Yeah,
talking about.
that one was super cool.
Ed McGuinness?
No.
Okay.
No,
I'm just
this-
thinking of a big Ed McGuinness
this
head,
was,
Bizarro head for some reason.
Pre Death of Superman.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. This
Oh.
but not by much. And then I didn't touch Superman for a long time. I got a little bit older and got into Superman Red Sun, reread Death of Superman and things like that. And it
Red
kind
Sun's
of,
good.
yeah, it kind of kickstarted me back into the love of Superman that I have today.
Fascinating.
Speaking of today, did anybody watch the new cartoon that's got a new
I did.
episode coming
I
out?
went home and checked
yeah,
because you
we
said there was a new
did.
one. There wasn't.
There wasn't. I think it's midnight is the
Oh, yeah.
flip over.
What's your take on the cartoon?
Me?
Yeah.
I liked it. I thought the updates to it made a lot of sense with being true to the characters and kind of updating it and making the characters more likable
Mhm.
and gearing it towards a younger audience without forsaking what it is at its core. I thought they updated Clark into being much more of a goof and a dork, which I don't think we've really seen a ton of. I think
No.
that
It's always the exaggeration
Yeah.
of that, of him acting that way, not him actually being that way.
yeah, Christopher Reeve I think touched on it a little
Yep,
bit, but
that's
it,
what
but
it
it was
is.
more of an
Yep.
act. And this, I think it shows a bit more why he would be kind of a goof and a dork, because he's a bit more of a social outcast because he is so much stronger than everybody else. I thought
Yep,
they
and
did
dealing
it
with the awkwardness of
Mhm.
having to just navigate through everyday life.
without constantly breaking everything and having to be like super careful and being kind of standoffish and not wanting to
Super
To-
careful, man.
hurt people. Yeah,
And
Yeah.
I like the iteration of Lois they went with too,
yeah.
who she's also intern at the Daily Planet, and she's still got that eager, feisty kind of characterization, but she just more of a team player. We'll go with, and it's really interesting just to see the way they're choosing to do that and play up the kind of will they won't they.
Yeah, very
stuff,
very
which is-
anime manga
Mhm.
kind of relationship between them, but that was always there
Yeah.
anyway, and it's just fun to see. I'm not a huge manga or anime guy. I'm trying to learn more about it as I get through it. So the style is not my preferred style exactly, but I think that they add a little bit more detail to it and a little bit more flow.
And it's
to
also
the
not like
smoothness.
really super
Right.
Anime. It's
Some of the villains at times,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
what
it
am
can
I
be,
watching?
Yeah.
But with the character designs of Jimmy Olsen, Clark,
Mhm.
and Lois feel great.
I like Jimmy Olsen.
you loved
I
him,
like-
yeah.
I thought
yeah.
Jimmy Olsen was really fun as like this conspiracy theorist, like whatever. I like the characters a lot. I thought the scripts were very fun. I'm not a super huge fan of the animation style. That being said, the animation is not bad by
Nope.
any stretch.
Nope, not even a
But when
little.
we're watching some of these painted Superman cartoons from like the 40s or whatever, it's like, man, that's a piece of art. This is a piece of modern animation that's done very well,
Yep.
but just not necessarily resonating with Old Man Coy.
He's old.
He's old. Yeah, I don't know. I watched like 2.5 episodes with you, and I thought it was a very fun series.
There was only 3, so he was busy with customers at the time. So
I hope that it does catch on and it is popular with kids because it's got the right formula.
Yeah.
It's got the right
does.
feel.
well, we also don't know what's going to happen because it's a Max show, so they could
Yeah. A
end
min.
it for
should
no
be
reason
min.
at all. Yep.
So
Yeah.
hopefully they don't kill
Um,
it for tax reasons.
I'm along the same lines as the rest of us all here. It seems very much like something that's designed for that younger generation, and Superman desperately needs.
You are the younger generation.
I'm
You're
not-
7 years old, sir.
I'm Michael Callie.
Yeah, I know.
Let's go
You're
to
40.
AI.
You're 40 on the inside.
Let's go to
Sorry.
AI
Yeah,
Michael Callie for
Yeah.
a second here.
Hey, I'm Michael Callie.
I'm 14 years old, and I'm just happy to be here. Oh, thank you, AI Michael
Hugs.
Callie.
Well, he works with kids. He knows he's not 14.
Yeah, they remind me every day that I'm an old man in their eyes.
Yeah.
I did really like the show. I thought the chemistry between the three main characters is fantastic. I want to see the rest of the villains that they throw at us for this show. I'd like to see Lex Luthor, and I'd like to see a couple other villains. make
No
a
Lex Luthor
super-
on the voice cast list.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah, I
Well,
thought that
maybe
was
we
really
won't see him
surprising.
at all.
At least I don't think.
Um,
I don't remember seeing it.
Especially
We'll go
with the way that Smallville tied Lex
Yeah.
Luthor and Clark so closely together early on in
which they
life.
might do like season 2 type thing where Lex pops his up.
He pops
Yeah.
his
Pops
up.
his up,
Maybe-
guys.
This is why you're listening to the podcast. He pops his up.
Yeah, maybe they're
Had
maybe
that
they're
chicken
waiting
parm. It's
for-
getting to me.
Yeah.
Maybe they're waiting for
had
season
that,
2 to
had
pull
that
up
fake
heavy
chicken
hitters.
parm.
Fake
from
chicken
from
parm.
Olive Garden.
When
Is the chicken
Shut the
parm
whole
at Olive
podcast
Garden
down.
fake? Legal
they-
consultant Cecilia?
We're legally not allowed to call ourselves an Italian restaurant.
Wow.
Why?
I didn't know that.
you serve spaghetti. Careful. Do you still have like the sandwiches with the big breadsticks? No, we're good.
It's in the bag.
Ask for it. She'll hook you up.
Boy, Superman. What makes this character so iconic?
Depends on who you ask.
I'm asking you.
I think Superman is iconic because he represents what I feel most people should strive to be, which is that person who does right.
An alien?
Yeah,
An
an alien who does what's right regardless of who is looking, and given the opportunity to prove themselves, would prove themselves not because it's It's not because it's something that they can make money off of, but it's because it's the right thing to do. I like Superman personally because to me he represents hope and an unconquerable will and just that drive to keep going and do right by everyone as much as you can.
And I like heat vision.
I was gonna say.
No,
actually
I
really
was. That was.
cool.
That,
And
what
I
he
think,
said.
I think
And
we
Jack?
should, yeah,
yeah.
we should be flying aliens with laser eyes. That's.
But no, I agree
really-
with what he says. That's that whole what we used to call the American dream, but just to be the ideal person you can possibly be, to live up to standards and have standards for yourself, and to try to make things better for other people.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
Like I really want
That's
to
why I like Cap too.
Yeah, exactly. But he shoots people.
Well, sometimes he has to for
There-
America.
Do we know
Captain
what the
America?
issue of Superman is by Joe Kelly? It was an anniversary issue where it was discussing what makes is Superman still relevant today, and he was going up against a new superhero team who was inspired by the Authority. It's like I think I almost want to say it's Action 775 or something like that. I haven't read it in forever. I'd like to look at it again.
They did do Superman up against the Authority though, didn't they?
Probably.
Well, they made an animated movie about what you're talking about. I think
maybe.
I forget what they're.
I know
called.
what you're talking about too, but I don't.
Yeah,
I don't
I
remember
just-
the issues
Well,
because
eventually-
it was a very well received, very well talked about
Yep.
book that I never read. But
I remember reading an interview about Joe Kelly's Superman run where he said that he was going to have Clark and Lois be more newlyweds and have a lot of comedy with them. But I, of course, never read it.
Yeah, I know. It's just,
I think they had a pretty good artist on it too.
I don't remember.
I feel like it was like a Chris Bachalo type.
They throw a
Chris
lot of
Bachalo?
artists at the Superman.
who's the definitive Superman artist?
For me,
Definitive.
Yeah,
Jose.
Garcia Lopez.
Thank you. Anything DC for me, that is basically what I'm thinking of because he did all the character sheets for all of the merchandising that they've used forever, and so it's that
I really like Jorge Jimenez's
stuff.
his stuff on Superman lately. That stuff is sharp. We're talking about updating with a style to mix anime and manga with the best of the classical American superhero stuff. I think he's nailed it.
Dan Mora's stuff on World's
yeah.
Finest.
Oh yeah, he's good too.
He's got that same vibe of that. What are you laughing at?
Oh, just raise your hand if you buy if you read the book.
Oh, you know,
We talk about it favorably all the time, but we've never picked it up.
His,
It's like
his stuff's really pretty though. It has that Japanese influence, but still reads very American comic-y. And just you can just tell he's I'm not sure how old he is, but the young and up and coming guy that like I could see him
72 years old.
I could see him influencing a lot of people with his style.
Mora.
Yeah, but Jurgens to me is again it was Death of Superman stuff that like that's just flipping through the big omnibus that Sweeting had the other day. It's like that's how I remember it.
If they wanted me to be super psyched on it and like go back to it and be psyched on it as a kid and as an adult, they should have paid Bisley to do Death of Superman.
What?
That would have been awesome.
That
I
would've
am
been
almost going to
interesting.
turn your
No.
mic off for that one.
No.
That doesn't make any sense.
Really?
No,
Because then that fight would have been gnarly like it should have been.
I'm curious.
but that's not Superman.
It could have been.
No,
No,
you're
you're
wrong.
wrong.
Martin and I are gonna.
Fortunately,
rarely
the
are you
kayfabe
wrong.
you
You're
never
very
see
wrong.
that.
That's,
I could have sold more than $6 million if I had Bisley on that.
no, you wouldn't.
No,
have.
you wouldn't.
You'd sold 2 million less.
But have
I'm
a
fact.
cooler
I'm
book.
also a Jurgens guy, Evan.
I would like to see that interpretation.
Yeah.
He's
I'm for
just,
that,
Or
but-
just one painting
those were
of it.
just the comics that were in the dollar bin the most when I was a kid. The
Yeah.
Superman books I'm the most familiar with. The ones I've read cover to cover more than any others. When I think of Superman, I usually think of Dan Jurgens. Though I do also think Jim Lee draws a great Superman.
Well, yeah, because he takes things from everybody's Superman that's popular and crams it together in a
He's a
homogenized
synthesizer.
package.
Yeah.
Oh,
He figured
Aaron,
it
you've
out.
gotten to me.
What?
I just disparaged Jim Lee.
He's fine.
He's a
He's very
sneaky guy.
talented.
No, one of his Image cohorts on their podcast did mention this fact that specifically for his Heroes Reborn Fantastic Four, how not grand it is compared to some of his other things because he had less things to draw from to make the image because he usually just takes these different styles and combines them into his style, taking like the most popular attributes and things.
Is this the same
isn't that
image
what you-
founder who
It's Rob
is
Liefeld.
Rob Liefeld.
often
It's Rob
criticized
Liefeld.
for feet?
Yes.
I'm gonna still be discreet.
Yeah.
Discrete
Liefeld.
Okay.
But I don't want him to
And
sue
Thomas.
us.
Oh boy.
So what do we think about the new movie coming up?
If they do it like this new TV show, I think it'll be a success.
It won't be a success.
No,
Tyler Hoechlin, or however you say his last name, won't oh no, that's the no, it's David Corenswet.
Hasselhoff?
Corenswet? I don't know.
Is that
I'm-
who's playing
Cornswet?
Superman?
That's
Oh,
who's playing
to be
Superman
the new
Legacy,
character.
yeah.
I haven't seen his acting, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah,
I'm,
it's
As long as they give him something to do, I feel like they really tanked that Brandon Routh Superman movie because
Yeah.
he had nothing to do.
that poor guy. He really did get hosed on that script,
Yeah, woof.
Woof.
but he got to reprise the character in the Arrowverse. So
Did he do anything then?
he did a Kingdom Come version, I think, of the Superman.
Yeah, but did he do anything?
Yeah. I mean, obviously he did something. He played Superman and the Atom in the same show. Come on.
I'm
Hey,
hopeful
it's
for the
basically like
movie.
Cheech Marin and From Dusk Till Dawn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's the Cheech Marin.
Can we just do a
of
Dust
the
Till Dawn
Arrowverse.
reference in every show?
We should.
Take a drink, I guess.
All
Add,
right.
add it to the list, Teresa.
Should we look at anything? We have a whole bunch.
Oh,
of
yeah,
books.
Yeah,
we
let's
forgot
look at
to-
something real quick.
Yeah, we have 4 minutes.
Yeah, I have this on the top here. This is the Superman Last Son of Krypton. I picked this up
Is
because
that
Adam,
Richard Donner
because-
worked with Jeff Johnston?
Yes.
Yes.
And this I picked it up because Adam Kubert drew it.
Who?
Adam Kubert.
Not familiar.
Oh, really?
Never heard.
Yeah, this is the guy. One of the big reasons why I do art and am into comics in the first place. Very different style.
Love those
than,
nice cinematic panels.
Yeah, very different than what I got into him for with the Wolverine.
I literally almost just asked who the artist was on that.
Yeah. Well, I only said it a couple
Wow.
times. But this is him in his full-on Mobius mode and drawing tons of things out of his head. I love this panel here of him smashing into this giant steel door.
Yeah.
You could just feel the motion and impact in this stuff. That's why I still have this thing, just because he has such a great knack for storytelling and motion and impact.
Is that the only
And acting.
Superman trade you own, Aaron?
I have another one, the Lionel Yu and Mark Waid Birthright. Do I have anything else? That might be it. And I can't remember anything about that one either. It's been forever since I read these. I think I bought this when it came out.
So one of our customers who's a big Superman fan who's trying to fill in some of his run from the 90s, we were talking yesterday, and he was asking me what stuff I had since I'm going through and consolidating my collection. And I realized that for Superman, if it's not, I don't have like extended runs. It's always these little like cross intos and kind of like big event things. So it's kind of interesting that for a character that I have nothing against, I just have nothing that really is drawing me to it. Michael and I were talking. Here we go. Evan, who's your favorite Superman villain?
Superman villain? I don't have one.
Aaron?
Brainiac appeals to me the most.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
Yeah, we were going through the list today, and it's just like it's not that Rogues Gallery. Well, it's
It's very dense.
yeah, but it's not Joker or even Flash level at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Flash has a good Rose Gallery.
Yeah,
Flash has an amazing.
Hey, let's
rogues
look through
gallery.
Michael's book real quick
Yeah.
too, if we could.
the
Yeah,
olden
we
times.
can look at Action Comics #1. It's in there.
What's that?
I don't know.
It's a comic
some
full
book
of
that someone
action.
paid $7 million for. I don't know why.
I heard that it sold 57 million copies.
57 million copies.
that
of a
for real?
Golden Age
No.
book. Wow.
Seems like a lot.
I don't know.
Love that art with the flat color.
There's so much pretty art in that book. I love Golden Age DC books. I just wish there were a few less panels sometimes when we're dealing with
There you
people
go.
from other countries.
Well, they had
Oh,
they only
Okay, never
had so many page count in the thing, so they had to really cram it in there.
They had
no,
to-
No, he's
he was
saying
referencing
Ethnicities.
the portrayal of minority type characters.
the Warriors were not kind.
It's a pretty book, but there's some character depictions in there of different ethnicities. That
It's
are
questionable
Not,
for his
that's what he's. That's
Yeah.
for
what
his
he's
Gen
saying.
Z for his Gen
I,
Z.
I thought you were saying there's too many
aesthetic.
panels. Give me
No,
3 a
no.
page.
No,
That's what I thought he was saying to at first.
No,
'cause, yeah.
I don't mind the length of Golden Age books. Sometimes they're a bit of a drag, but not very often. Especially if you're really passionate about whatever character you're reading. You've got to put yourself back into that time when you're going through some of the older stuff.
Be careful.
I was actually talking to Mark Schreiber about that. One of our regulars. He was telling me, he's like, you look at Action Comics #1 today, and you're like, oh, this really isn't anything. But think about the fact there was nothing else like it at
Yep.
the time. That was the only thing. Imagine being, a 6, 7-year-old kid, and you open that book and you see someone you've never seen before jumping over a building.
That's a fun little 3-panel.
Yeah, it's
he,
great.
he did this with the car too, where he's picking up the car and kind of like whipping it, like turning with the car, like just showing how effortlessly he can pick these things up.
The first issue of Superman spends a bit more time explaining his powers than it does having him actually do anything else, which is
Which is
on
probably
par for the
based because
course.
they were
He's
cartoon
carrying-
strips.
Yeah,
That's probably
yeah.
what it was.
He's carrying around a lot of dudes.
Yes.
He's just picking them up under each arm, just
picking up
walking around.
Superman picks up dudes.
I love when Superman picks up dudes.
Yeah, one under each arm.
His son.
I love the tank. I love the
The tank,
tank.
yeah.
There's so much great line work there.
The covers back, well, maybe not the 30s, but we were looking a few episodes, many episodes
Oh, the
ago
cover,
now.
yeah.
Those old EC covers, man, those things are spectacular.
Yeah, it was fun. We got basically 3 years ago now a Golden Age Detective Comics. Do you remember what number that was, Evan?
52 or 53.
And it was amazing. It was before the U.S. entered World War
Pre-World War II.
So just
I'd never seen a comic that old before.
nope. It was so much fun to go through, look at that, and read it, and see just how differently structured things were. They,
Surprisingly highly detailed.
it is, especially for like 19 panels on a page or something. And
Yeah, some of those pages were fantastic.
I
You
think-
felt weird handling an 80-something-year-old comic, but that was very cool. That was one of the coolest things that's
It
happened
was.
since I've been here.
Do you think it's just when they're reprinted or reproduced, the reproduction quality is so poor, and that's why we think of it?
it's that thing where you're changing how it was presented by having the glossy paper, the color separations, and things like that. Remastering it, even if you don't remaster it, I mean, just the different paper and printing
Yeah.
style will alter it.
You know what this reminds me of a newer comic, but still kind of an older comic does now, is Bob Burden's Flaming Carrot.
Hey,
The
Flaming
art,
Carrot.
the art in this, or
Bob Burden?
Bob Burden stuff feels very Silver Age to me.
Well, this is golden, but yeah,
Well,
I
yeah,
do feel
Golden Age.
Bob Burden does have that throwback to that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, that's what it feels like to me. Like I look at this, and just because I've read more Flaming Carrot than I have read classic Superman.
Yeah, I've read more All-Star comics than I have action comics from that time period, but it's not all the same, obviously. But that's another Superman team deal. So it's the same sort of stuff. It's always so fun. But
I love the structure of this page because it's so clear, but so old school and hokey by our standards now. Because he's got a vial of gas that he's going to threaten to use, and then he does.
I love the evil scientists like threatening with their plan, plotting. You get that whole panel. They don't do that anymore. You're right.
Even though scientists are pretty much still evil today,
Yeah, they are.
they're not trustworthy.
You talking about Fauci?
Oh no!
I'm not saying names, but they're
What's
always just
happening?
pushing their agenda.
Oh man. Yeah.
Oh, I've been canceled many
These
times.
these do look pretty good though. I think if I were to read some Superman comics, these would be
The
some ones that I'd be
scans in
very
that
interested.
book are really good too.
Just because of the simplicity of it, like you were talking about it being strips. Because I think a lot of comics just get so convoluted and away from the concept of the original. Like me talking about that first Superman comic I read was
Yeah.
was a robotic Superman, and it's never explicitly stated that this isn't Superman because that's the crux of the story. And then at the end, it's like, wait, what is Superman a robot? Does he
Here's
have
my
lots of robots?
3-minute sketch too.
Oh yeah, it's pretty good. Do you want to just?
You were
Get into
sketching the whole time.
Yeah, I like sketching though. You want to add color to it?
I'll
too?
add color to it. Thank you.
Yeah, go for
Okay,
it.
but it's not 3 minutes anymore.
Go
My
nuts.
little pow.
Love it. Did he hit that guy so hard his face went up?
Yes.
The democracies are definitely opposed to aggressor nations. Any more questions?
Why is Superman wearing hammer pants?
That was the style. They had the zoot suits, right?
I was talking about
The
Evan's drawing.
big, oh, no, that's just shading, man. I think
Yeah.
I feel like you're gonna end up coming across the cover that I was waiting to show Martin today.
Oh no.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Courtney Love. We gotta.
I think this version of Superman is more appealing to me than
I love that version of Superman.
than really modern.
I've got to read some of his Silver Age stuff because I guess all of that is completely and totally off the wall. Like Superman was borderline invincible for the most part. He could pretty much just do whatever. to the point that we talked about that earlier with Kryptonite No More.
Mm-hmm.
When the Bronze Age started, they actually tried to scale his powers back some, and there was a lot of backlash from the readers. So they just kind
He
of
should be able to push that planet.
yeah. So they kind of just said, "Okay, we'll stop trying to change it," and they just quietly changed things, and no one said a word.
I think the Silver Age or something like. I just lost the guy's name. Editor Schwartz.
Norman Schwarzkopf.
That Norman Schwarzkopf. He would like commission like the covers to have like gorilla Supermans
Yeah.
attacking a crocodile, and then whoever the person was in charge of the issue had to formulate a story around that.
Ooh, wow.
I think one of the other things I like is this classic iteration of Lois Lane, like running around, like, kicking this military guy in the shin.
Yeah, she was a real
Feisty,
spitfire back then.
feisty.
Yeah, that's what I like. Like, there wasn't a lot I liked about Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman and Justice League. Well, Justice League, they kind of didn't know what to do with her. But I thought Amy Adams did a great job as Lois Lane. Like
Amy Adams, one of the actresses, I can't identify.
you can't.
I confuse her with Rachel McAdams and someone else.
They made fun of that too. I think on The Office, didn't they bring in?
Yeah, she's the other one. Yeah,
Yeah,
the Pam from The Office.
yeah, she was like an alternate Pam. And then there's also another actress who's very similar to Amy Adams and Pam, Jenna Fisher.
Mm-hmm.
And they played with that of the closeness of appearance of all of them. It's interesting looking through this. Like even just flipping through the pages, you start to see the look of Superman get more crystallized or galvanized or realized. Yeah, because now the proportions are starting to take shape.
There's more a definitive costume there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, fun fact I forgot to share. The radio show, they did a very long sequence called Clan of the Fiery Cross, which they used information gathered against the Ku Klux Klan through, it was a government agency, I don't remember which, but that is, it was credited with severely decreasing the enrollment of the Ku Klux Klan because of just how absurd and stupid that they were presented as.
Superman smashes the Klan.
And that's what it's based off of.
Yep.
Yep. Superman Smashes available at the comic shop.
112 East Bridge
Bridge
Street.
Street.
The comic shop.
All right.
I like these one pagers in here too. Those are fun. Yeah, that's a great book.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that in.
No
let's look
problem.
at your drawings real quick.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Oh, drawings.
I did a few. I had to vindicate myself from my Hellboy I drew in 3 minutes the other day. So I think this is a little bit better, even though it's a different style. But I had some fun drawing that one. Here is the first Superman. Didn't put the emblem on it, but I feel pretty good about
I like that.
the proportions of that and the expressiveness of that.
I can't wait to see that later on the YouTube
Yeah.
stream.
This one, I'm trying to draw him flying. The proportions did not
Yeah.
work. He's stretched and foreshortened, and it's just not working. I feel like
That one
this
came
was-
out good.
I feel like this is much more successful, and I like playing with these markers because you can layer them a
Yeah.
little bit and they mix pretty well. Crayola markers, I think they're at Big Lots for less than $10. Like
Big Lots, not a sponsor.
I recommend these markers. They're
Is
pretty
there,
cheap.
is there cover art so people can see exactly what they're looking for?
Well, it's not really.
No.
Okay. Never mind.
Where's
I tried. I
Yeah,
tried.
no,
It-
keep going.
It
I
does-
tried, viewers. I tried.
It doesn't look like anything.
Oh, okay.
It just looks like trees.
Well,
so-
trees are something.
Well, yeah, but it
They can
doesn't
be
have
happy.
it doesn't have a name. But I think these are alcohol markers that Crayola makes.
Ooh, alcohol.
Tasted
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah. So cartoonist kayfabe Sean Phillips, alcohol.
It burned when I sniffed it.
There's my colors.
Yeah. So we've got some comic shop does a podcast.
Wait, is that
drawings.
Michael Calley's head?
Yes.
Whoa, you're punching Michael Calley?
Yes.
That's a little.
Well, no,
aggressive.
Superman is. I'm not.
Oh, Superman is.
So it's
Oh, actually, no,
okay.
that's Cecilia's
I like
makeup.
the-
Never
I like
mind.
the
It's
symbol on
Cecilia
his
who
chest.
got punched.
I do like the proportionality of your Superman better than mine.
Thank you.
More geometric.
Yeah, but from over here, it looks like your Superman's crotch is more electric,
This one?
sparkly. Yes.
Yeah, we didn't even get into Electric Superman, which I remember picking up off the shelves at PNC.
Which seem to be hard to come by in general. Yeah.
Okay, for all the Death of Supermans we get, we don't get a ton of Electric
No.
Superman.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's good. I was like, are we good?
I
I
just-
don't
yeah.
hate Electric Superman. Yeah. So this has been Oswego Comic Shop does a podcast. We've been talking about Superman, and I am Aaron Z. Lee, Lois Lane.
No,
who's
I'm a-
Superman's fan.
You are Superman's. I'm Evan Coy, Lex Luthor.
Why?
We're here with very special guest star.
Martin Kinney, Seventh Dimension Imp.
Mr. McSpittlex,
Mixel
Is it Seventh Dimension?
I said
Yes.
Mixip-
Yeah, we'll go
I
with
don't
it.
know. I don't know how to say
and
it.
regular guest star.
Regular guest star Michael. Don't call me Superboy Callie.
I think I'm saying McSpittlex correctly.
I don't know
You
if
say
I am
however
or
you
not.
want.
It's a bunch of letters thrown together.
I'm just gonna
pretty
keep
sure
correcting
whatever
you.
you say is good enough.
Mixel Pitlick.
We'll get an angry letter from him.
Apologies to Jack Kirby.
Apologies to Jack Kirby.
Apologies.
Good night, everybody.